Dear friends, I hope you all are doing well and keeping safe. Before I begin my video today, I want to thank my daughter for recommending this powerful memoir, The Other Wes Moore, written by Wes Moore. It's a work that challenges everything we think we know about how a life is built. There's a strange, almost haunting concept at the heart of this story. It's the idea that your entire life, your success, your failures, even your freedom could hinge on things as small as a zip code, a set of expectations, or a single afternoon's decision. It starts with a coincidence: two kids born in the same city, in the same era, growing up in similar neighborhoods. They both faced the challenges of tough streets and the absence of a father. And in a twist that sounds like fiction but is entirely true, they both shared the exact same name, Wes Moore. One Wes Moore grew up to be a Rhodes Scholar, a decorated combat veteran, and a White House fellow. The other Wes Moore is currently serving a life sentence in prison for his role in a robbery that left a police officer dead. How does that happen? How do two people with the same name and a similar starting lines end up in such different universes? When we look at success or failure, we usually jump straight to hard work or bad choices. But before the choices even start, there is the environment. Think of environment as the soil of your life. The first Wes Moore had a mother who was obsessed with his potential. When he started failing, she did not just hope for the best, she sacrificed everything to change his scenery, eventually sending him to military school. She provided a social gravity that pulled him back every time he tried to drift away. He was surrounded by people who convinced him that his future was a valuable thing that should not be wasted. The other Wes Moore lived in an environment where the gravity pulled in the opposite direction. He was bright and capable, but the voices around him, the culture of the streets, the lack of visible alternatives, suggested that his options were narrow. When the world tells you from age 10 that you are a problem, eventually you start to believe the word is right. Our environment sets the default of our lives. If you are surrounded by people who view the world as a place of opportunity, that becomes your baseline. If you are surrounded by survival and scarcity, that also becomes your baseline. But environment isn't a life sentence. This is where the story gets challenging. The author Wes Moore is very clear. He wasn't a saint, and the other West wasn't a monster. They both stood at the crossroads. They both had moments where they could have turned left or right. The difference is often found in the intervention of a second chance. At one point, the successful Wes was handcuffed for graffiti. A police officer chose to let him go with a warning. That choice, made by someone else, kept his path open. The other Wes also had run-ins with the law, but his trajectory led him deeper into the system that is much easier to enter than it is to leave. Ultimately, though there is the personal choice, we like to think of our lives as a grand movie, but they are actually a collection of tiny, mundane decisions. Who do I hang out with today? Do I walk away from this confrontation or escalate it? Or do I pick up the book or the bottle? The other Wes made a choice to participate in a robbery. It was a choice made under pressure, perhaps fueled by a lifetime of environmental conditioning that he was brought in. But it was a choice nonetheless. And that one moment of agency outweighed every other factor in his life. So what does it mean for those of us who aren't named Wes Moore? Number one, we must curate our social soil. You might not be able to change where you were born, but as an adult, you are the architect of your environment. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Do they raise your expectation or lower them? If your environment is telling us that we have hit our ceiling, it's a time to find a new room. Number 2, recognize the butterfly effect of your decisions. We often underestimate the stakes of our daily lives. We think it is just one night or it is just one mistake. But lives are built on momentum. One good choice makes the next good choice slightly easier. One bad choice can sometimes close doors we did not even know were there. Number 3, practice empathy for others. This story is a reminder that the gap between success and tragedy is often thinner than we want to admit. It's easy to look at someone in a dark place and say, they chose that. It's much harder to acknowledge that if we had been planted in their soil, we might have grown the same way. We are all living a version of the story. Every day, there's a version of us that leans into potential and a version of us that gives into our environment's worst impulses. Destiny isn't something that happens to us from the outside. It is a slow, steady accumulation of how we handle the hand we were dealt. We cannot always control the cards, but we are the only one who can play them. The question is, which version of your story are you writing today? Thank you for listening. I greatly appreciate your time. If you liked what you heard, please give a thumbs up. Also, follow my channel and spread the news. Thank you. Bye for now.